I know we've all wondered, how do we get rid of belly fat and love handles? But have you ever wondered what is the root cause of them? Well, that's what we're going to get into in this episode. We've distilled it down to about 11 different things that are causing belly fat in our society today. And we're going to go through each one and give you some easy, actionable tips that you can start using right away to start eliminating these things, changing your lifestyle a little bit around these things, or just getting rid of them, honestly. And none of this is super hard, and you're probably not going to hear all of them and be blown away. There's probably going to be 3 or 4 though that you're like, wow, I didn't even think about that aspect. And you can start changing a few things, because belly fat really isn't the accumulation of one bad decision. It's a lot of these little things that build up over time. So just listen to this episode and think about what are ways that you can start eliminating, removing, or changing some of the elements we're going to describe in order to, like, over the course of the next 3 months, 6 months, 18 months, start eliminating belly fat, which is actually a lot more detrimental and dangerous than people even realize. You're listening to the Low Carb Hustle, home of your $1,000,000 body method, where we help you get leaner and live longer. My name's Nate Palmer. I've been a coach since 2008. And my mission is super simple. I just want to show you how to easily drop fat so you can feel lean, strong, and energetic. So if you're ready to learn some of the main causes of belly fat and how to eliminate those in your life, stick around. Let's do this. Now, you might think that belly fat is just an aesthetic issue. A lot of people I talk to will say, hey, I just want to get rid of belly fat, and they pinch their stomach. But it's actually one of the biggest indicators of your overall health. The crazy part is that even people who look thin often have dangerous amounts of visceral fat, because belly fat isn't just the fat you can pinch. That's called subcutaneous fat. That's underneath the skin fat. And that's really just like the top layer of fat. That fat is actually not that detrimental, aside from, we kind of want to get rid of it so we look really good at the beach and, have a six pack and all these things. But when it comes down to it, the visceral fat is the next level, the dangerous level. If you think about belly fat in bowls, when you overeat calories, let's say, you start pouring into the first bowl. That first bowl is subcutaneous fat. That's the fat that goes under the skin. You feel it on your arms, on your back, belly, whatever, Then once that bowl gets full, that subcutaneous bowl gets full, then it spills over into visceral fat. The visceral fat bowl, that's the stuff in kind of your internal core that goes around your organs. Now, this is when it starts getting dangerous, because visceral belly fat can start developing not sentience, but like kind of sentience. Like, it'll start growing veins. It'll get bigger, and it connects to your brain and will send out signals to your brain asking you to eat more food. So there you start getting these cravings, and you're like, man, I have such a sweet tooth, but it's just your visceral belly fat talking to your brain. It's crazy. And then once you start, like, that visceral belly fat starts wanting to grow more, it starts releasing something called cytokines, which are these highly inflammatory compounds. It releases a bunch of negative elements and chemicals into your body that create inflammation, promote heart disease, promote Alzheimer's and dementia, and start really wreaking havoc on our internal systems. So even if you're thin, don't sleep on this. The only way to tell is doing like a DEXA scan. Some of those like in-body scans can be beneficial. They'll tell you roughly, but what I see is the in-body shows you about 50%. If it says you have 1 pound of visceral belly fat, you probably have 2 pounds, based on what I've seen of people who do the in-body and then do the DEXA right afterwards and compare the two. That's kind of what I look at. So just a thought on that. And that's not science. That's just kind of empirical data that I've noticed. So visceral fat, obviously dangerous. It's linked to heart disease. It's linked to diabetes. It's linked to cancer. The more inflammation you have in your cells, the worse off you are in terms of cancer. It's the first type of fat to start showing up in that dangerous area. The next type of fat is called organ fat. That's when you start getting fat permeating your organs. People talk about fatty liver disease, which only used to appear in alcoholics. And now we see it in people all the time, people who don't even drink, because of the high instances of trans fats and poor eating habits and high sugar that we're getting in our life. It is also the last to leave. So belly fat and love handles, I'm sorry to tell you, those are the last ones to go. And I'm sorry, because that's the most annoying and everyone wants that to go first, but it never does. It won't do it. So it's always the last to leave, unless you have some sort of genetic freak parents who have given you their incredible DNA. But belly fat also is not just an aesthetic issue. It affects everything. It affects your energy, which relates to your performance at work and how much money you can make. It affects how you feel when you wake up in the morning. And it even affects your ability to burn fat effectively. So it's this vicious cycle where The more you have, the harder it is to burn fat, and the harder it is to burn fat, the more belly fat you obtain. So kind of sounds like a pyramid scheme, but like the worst kind. So today I want to talk about the 11 most common reasons that belly fat won't budge in your life, and a few simple practical tweaks that you can start making right away that to get leaner, healthier, feel better, and live longer, just like we always do. So hopefully this stuff is helpful for you. I don't particularly want to be just standing in front of my microphone proselytizing and saying like, you should do this and you should do that. But I really feel like there's a couple elements to health and fitness and longevity that just don't get talked about enough. So this is kind of my platform and the place that I want to go to be like, hey, look at this, look a little harder at this. How can you get better? Because really, and I say this on the intro to every single episode, my mission is to help you get leaner and live longer. And if we can do that as a community, then we can bring more people up with us. You know, I talk about this a lot with my clients is don't be the person who's like, I need someone at the gym at 6 a.m. Be the person at the gym at 5:59 waiting on your friends to get there. Build that community. You get leaner and live longer. Absolutely. Do that for yourself. Do it for your energy. Do it for your finances, your relationships, for your family, for your kids. But then start becoming the inspiration. Start becoming the person that someone else is getting out of bed because they're like, oh my God, Jim's waiting at the gym for me. I shouldn't have said Jim. I should have used a different name. So annoying. Steve's waiting at the gym for me. If your name is Steve and you've been personally victimized by this, I'm so sorry. But if you can be that person, that's really what this is. I don't want this to be me talking at anybody. I want this to be like a message of hope that you can take and bring to your own community, to your own family, to your own relationships. So hopefully that's what this is. Hopefully you don't just feel like I'm just me yelling all the time. Sometimes that's what I feel like. I'm just looking at myself. It's on the camera. It's I'm like, what did I do with my beard? Didn't I used to be young? Start having those thoughts and then I get off track. Anyways, just like that. Number one is we're going to talk about some of the hidden culprits behind stubborn belly fat. So 3 things from like a food and drink perspective that are going to be causing it. And the first one, this is going to shock you. This is going to be, you're like, whoa, I didn't even hear this coming. Sugar and processed foods. I know, I told you, shocking. But sugar hides in everything. It's in bread, it's in ketchup, it's in coffee drinks, it's in granola. It's also goes by about 87 different names. So you got sugar, you got high fructose corn syrup, you got dextrose, you got maltodextrin, you got date solids, agave nectar, even a honey. But it's in everything. So until you start looking at ingredient labels, you're not gonna even know what it's in. So just start making a point of that. Look at the ingredient labels, see how much sugar's and stuff, and then see what kind of sugar as well. Processed carbs are the second thing here. Processed carbs, and I think processed carbs are such a big deal because in the 70s and 80s we started vilifying fats, and because of that we started pulling out fats and all our products were fat free. We had to replace it with something. So what's the obvious solution was to replace it with sugar and salt to make it hyper palatable and still so people would eat it. So that's why we find sugar and salt in all these different things. Now that fat is becoming a little less villainized, we see that in things too. So sugar, fat, and salt is kind of the holy grail. It's the mecca of dopamine response in our brain. So if you're looking at processed foods as a whole, you're going to find all of this stuff because processed foods are designed for us to eat them. Hyper palatable just means that we can eat them quickly. We don't have to chew them a whole lot. And then we eat enough, or we eat them fast enough that we don't feel full when we're actually full. Think about a McDonald's hamburger. That's kind of my McDonald's hamburger, McDonald's French fries. That's kind of like the number one hyper palatable thing I can think of because you can eat a hamburger in like 4 bites and you're like, wow, that went down easy. I could have another one of those. And those things are like 500 calories. So we eat another one, then we have some French fries. And before we even feel full, we've already consumed 1,400 calories. It's so easy to do, especially now you're tossing on ketchup. By the way, did you know that McDonald's fries put sugar on them? Yeah. You don't even taste it, but your brain does. So the solution here is, again, a big shocker. Woo, huge reveal. Ditch the processed foods. Focus on whole ingredients. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this. That's another reason I don't like snacking. It's just because snacking, all the snack foods are highly processed. No one's snacking on a chicken breast. And if you're the person who's brings a chicken breast in like a coffee cup to a work meeting, then God bless you. All right, number 2, alcohol. Yes, even weekend drinks. Even weekend drinks count. Alcohol halts fat burning and it stores your excess calories directly in visceral fat. And what we see is like one of the biggest issues with this is that even outside of just the alcohol halting fat burning, it when you eat alcohol and you drink alcohol and you eat seed oils at the same times, it rapidly increases the pace that we hold visceral fat, which is too bad because when you drink alcohol, all you want to do is eat seed oils and processed foods. No one's like, that was some good alcohol. Let me get a chicken breast. Let me get a side of steak. We're like, let's get the nachos. Let's have a bean burrito. Does anybody want to split a pizza? No, it's all for me. That's perfect. So when you stop burning fat when you're drinking alcohol, think about this. One drink is equivalent to about 1 hour. I think it's actually a little bit longer than that. 1 hour of no fat burn whatsoever, no muscle building whatsoever, and a complete shutdown of all your metabolic processes. So alcohol is expensive. It costs you time, it costs you energy, it costs you sleep. It's just keeps you down for a really long period of time. Um, some studies show that depending on the amount of alcohol consumed, fat burning can be reduced for up to 36 hours as your body processes all the alcohol out. And it takes longer to process out if you have more belly fat. It's tough. Here's a couple other things about alcohol and metabolism is that the liver metabolizes alcohol about 1 drink per hour, but the traces remain in the blood up to 6 hours and in urine for 24 hours. And you'll see traces in your hair for up to 7 days later. When this happens, fat burning gets paused because your body treats alcohol like a toxin and it has to metabolize it first, to keep you safe and alive. So limit your drinking or choose lower calorie options so there's not a bunch of mixers and shit in your podcast or in your drinks. So try to avoid those pina coladas, the beers, the wine, and stick to the Chi Omega, vodka sodas. That's the way to do it. And then when you are drinking, try to avoid eating at the same time. And if you are going to eat, especially avoid eating high fat, high carb foods. Try to stick with protein. Easier said than done. The last one in the hidden culprits category is trans fats. So I would call this like the silent fat storage trap. And I think trans fats have been like cut out of a lot of different things, but we still see them a lot in fried foods. And the thing about trans fats is that sometimes you don't even get trans fats with the ingredients. It's the cooking that turns a regular fat into a trans fat. So you find them in fried foods, processed snacks, margarine. I can't believe it's not butter, but this is going to trigger a lot of inflammation. This is going to be a precursor for heart disease, and it is going to absolutely increase your stubborn belly fat. So stick to healthy fats, avocados, olive oil, nuts, avoid packaged junk. But I would go even one level farther and say you probably don't need as much fat as you're eating, and this is maybe something that the keto carnivore crowd is going to kill me for, but most people, it's very easy to get a lot of fats in their diet. When I look at people's macros and their meal tracking, most of the time when they're eating a healthy diet, and they're working really hard on protein, they're getting pretty low carbs, and then their fats are always the thing that is causing them to overeat. So yes, like olive oil is healthy, right? Avocado oil is healthy. Avocados are healthy. Egg yolks are healthy. But you can eat too much of them. It's very easy to overeat them because 1 gram of fats is 9 calories, whereas 1 gram of protein and carbs is 4 calories. So if you have 50 grams of fat, you're talking about 450 calories right there, where 50 grams of carbs is only 200 calories. So just be cognizant of that and try to avoid snacking on high fat things. So like trail mixes, nuts, granola, things like that. All right. Let's move on to number 2 is the lifestyle traps that pack on fat. Number 1 here is the sedentary lifestyle. Sedentary lifestyle is we just sit too much. We're at desks, we're at our computers, we're not walking, we're not standing. Sitting for hours will slow your metabolism down, and it signals your body to store fat because if you're not moving, your body's like, all right, let's hold on to some of this fat in case we start, getting into a famine or we need to run. We can have all this stuff in storage. Our bodies aren't designed to sit at desks. Our bodies are designed to frolic in meadows and hunt baby deer. Right. So if we are acting outside of how our bodies are designed, then we're going to experience repercussions. So try to stand up more, move around more, take walking breaks, do walking meetings, park farther away, do 5-minute movement bursts every hour, something. Just stand up, do a set of push-ups, jumping jacks, just move a little bit more. And the cool thing about moving a little bit more, even if it's not crazy, is that your body will continue to trigger fat burning, continue to trigger muscle building when you are moving more, because it's like, okay, we have all this muscle. Let's continue to shuttle nutrients to the muscle so that we can use that for energy rather than just putting it into long-term storage. The other thing that I found to be very, very successful and makes A massive difference without costing a whole lot is doing like 5 to 10 minutes of walking after meals. It just helps with digestion, helps you like fight against a sedentary lifestyle, make sure that you're metabolizing your food appropriately. The other one is having too many calories and too many carbs without you having any activity. So calories are fuel, but if you're not burning them, they get stored as fat. So if you're let's reframe carbohydrates. If you're not active, you probably don't need a bunch of extra carbs. And what I like about this is that once you start getting closer to being able to eat intuitively, then you start understanding and start actually feeling hunger after longer bouts of exercise or movement. You're like, oh, okay, I worked out really hard. I'm feeling hungry after dinner. I'm going to have 2 servings. And then that's an appropriate way to do it. If we're addicted to sugar and we are eating too many processed foods, then that intuitive eating is not going to work out, because I'm intuitively going to eat an entire sleeve of Girl Scout Thin Mints intuitively because they're there and I have to, and I'm addicted to sugar. But if you're eating mostly whole foods, you're moving a lot, your body will start telling you what it needs, which is the coolest thing. But most people aren't there yet. They're not able to eat intuitively because they're not moving enough and they're eating too much processed, like multi-ingredients, hyper-palatable foods. So eat more carbs on workout days. Pretty easy solution there. Eat fewer on rest days. You can get into something that's called carb cycling or calorie cycling, which is like you have like high days and low days and medium days based off of your activity level. That's getting a bit complex, but if that works for you, more power to you. And then the third of the lifestyle traps is plastics and environmental toxins. This one might be one that you not thought too much about, but plastics leak chemicals called BPAs into your food, into your water, especially when they're heated. So that plastic water bottle you had sitting in your car, don't drink out of that. Throw that in the trash. The more plastic we drink out of, the more we're going to disrupt our hormones. We're going to slow our metabolism. The more we're going to increase our belly fat, the more microplastics are going to end up in your balls, bros. Come on. We don't need that. Testosterone levels are already at an all-time low for men in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And more plastic containers are only increasing that. So super easy solution here is number one is switch to glass containers. If you don't have like Pyrex glass containers for storing meat and leftovers, get those right away. Those are a game changer. You don't have to buy them again. Plus they all fit inside each other and nest. So you don't have to like have a cabinet that's just like you open and a bunch of plastic shit falls out and you can't ever find the lid. We don't need that. That's bad juju. Just get rid of that stuff and replace it with a Pyrex. Don't ask your wife, just do it. And she's going to thank you. She's going to be like, wow, you're so manly. You always take care of the family. Just do it. And then get like a stainless steel water bottle. And then for God's sakes, do not microwave plastic. Do not microwave plastic. Don't heat anything in plastic. Even those Costco things, the ready to eat meals, the meatloaf, the shepherd's pie, that's like, yeah, just take the lid off and throw it in. Don't do that. Heat it in its own pan. Scoop the meatloaf out, scoop the mashed potatoes out. Don't heat stuff in plastic. Please, I'm begging you, don't do that. It is just absolutely leaching chemicals into your food, which disrupt your hormones, mess with your testosterone. It's all bad. And it's such a simple fix. Switch to a glass containers, heated stuff in the microwave, heat stuff in the air fryer. By the way, people hate the microwave. They say it kills the nutrients in food. I used to believe that. I have not seen any research that would tell me that that's the case. So I'm not afraid of the microwave. I don't stand in front of it like balls out, just like ready to like nuke my, my whatever, but I will heat my food in there. So maybe don't stand in front of it, but I think it's probably fine for food. I don't think it destroys all the nutrients. And if I'm wrong, please educate me, because I don't want to be doing that sort of thing, but I haven't seen that research. All right, let's get into the third segment, internal factors that sabotage your fat loss, especially belly fat loss. Here's another drink coming in. Talking so much, I'm thirsty. All right, number one here is poor gut health. This is something that a lot of people don't think about. We talk about calories in versus calories out, but if you've got leaky gut, if you have bad gut health, if you don't have the right bacteria in there, you've been taking antibiotics for a really long period of time, you are going to have poor fat metabolism. Your gut bacteria control how well you digest food, and to a certain extent, they control how well your body can burn fat. So eating a bunch of processed food is going to change your gut bacteria and microbiome to be a lot less able to break down food appropriately and then burn fat. Antibiotics do the same thing. They're antibiotics. They kill bacteria. And a lot of times they kill the good bacteria that we have in there. So if you're taking rounds of antibiotics, make sure you're getting some probiotics in there to help rebuild. And then also another thing about like the microbiome and the gut is that stress has a huge impact on it. Stress can wipe out good gut bacteria too. So make sure that you are incorporating fermented foods, probiotics, and then we're just reducing processed junk as much as possible. And then after a round of antibiotics, get some really high density probiotics. I took this stuff called Z-Bio or Z-Biotic, which is it's like a kefir yogurt mixture. It was unpleasant to taste. So I got it, and my client who had told me about it was like, "Oh, did you get the strawberry kind?" I was like, "I know, I got the plain kind." She's like, "Yeah, that kind is gross." I was like, "Well, you could have told me ahead of time," but I drink it anyways because I drink a lot of weird stuff if you tell me it's healthy. I've had a lot of strange things to eat in the name of health. Papaya seeds, you ever eaten those? Oh, speaking of which, papaya seeds are great for gut health. They help you but they're very spicy. They taste like mustard seeds. But having a couple of those, great option, especially if you want to rebuild healthy gut bacteria. This is something that I always did when we were in South America. Is we eat a bunch of street meat and drink cheap beers for like a week straight, and I'm like, my belly feels bad. So we would eat the healing salad, and then I would eat papaya seeds because Lindsay does not like papaya seeds and is not as willing to eat untasty stuff in the name of health and fitness. Moving on to the next thing here, kind of piggybacking off of that, is chronic stress and cortisol overload. Stress cranks up your cortisol, which increases your cravings, it increases your fat storage, and increases your hunger signals. The more stress you have, the worse you're going to sleep, the more you're going to hold belly fat. And because your body's going to be in this fight or flight state. When you're in a fight or flight state, you're not going to be able to oxidize fat and burn this off. Okay. You got to be a little bit more relaxed to be able to do that. So, which is crazy because like we're not in like World War I. We're not in the trenches with this high stress state of mind. We're not running from a saber-toothed tiger. But what we're dealing with right now in like modern day culture is chronic low-grade stress that never turns off. So we have stress at work, we have stress on our drive home, we have stress with our relationships, and then we get home, what do? We look at the little screen on our phone and we look at all the people who are mad about stuff in politics. And we're like, I'm mad about that too. And then you say someone else who posts the opposite thing and you're like, what a douchebag. I'm mad at him. And then we just let our stress levels increase. I know I'm politics aside, like it's neither here nor there. Like just take into account like what you're able to control and what you need to let go of, because there's so many things that we give a lot of power to in our life that we absolutely have no control over, which is such a detrimental thing to our health long-term. So be more mentally available for your family. Delete Instagram off your phone if you have to. I try to limit Facebook consumption, especially, pre and post election. Like take a year off on either side of those. And I think it does wonders for mental health. So going back to that, like the stress levels though, as they increase your cortisol. Cortisol is a good hormone. It's normal. It spikes in the morning, helps us wake up. It's necessary, but too much of it for too long messes with your insulin levels, creates insulin resistance, and it pushes fat to the belly. So if you are a high stress individual, you suffer from anxiety, stressful lifestyle, you got a long commute, you just hate traffic, whatever it is, think about doing some meditation, some deep breathing. And then the thing that works for me really well is daily gratitude. And I say that, and it's so 24-year-old fitness influencer of me. And we all have the same 24 hours in a day. All you have to do is wake up and do 40 minutes of gratitude and journaling. And that's not what I'm talking about. The way I do gratitude is with my family. And I try to bring up to my family the things that I'm grateful for, and not in a way that's like structured, like, okay, everybody, let's say one thing we're thankful for and go around in a circle. But like, I'll just be like, you know what? I love this house. I love being here. I love having this safe space. I love that what my wife did to the front room. Like, it's just so nice. What a great place we are able to live. Or sometimes the kids, I'll be like, you know what's so dope is that we can get amazing high quality water out of our faucet because we have a reverse osmosis system. Like, you know how many people don't have this? You know how many people would kill for something this great? We can just go to the fridge and get great cold water that is healthy for us, healing our body. Like, that's insane. So think about all the things that we take it for granted on a daily basis in our lives that are just amazing. And then, just keep those things top of mind, because it's very easy to be focused in on like, so-and-so said this political thing's happening. I'm I didn't get the promotion I wanted at work. This is going on. We need a roof repair. And all of a sudden we forget about all the great things in our lives because we're looking at all the things that need to change. The next one here is genetics. This is great because we can blame our parents. Yes, genetics determine where you store fat first. And for most of us, that's going to be the place we want it to lose it first. And so we're going to store it there first. We're going to lose it there last. But it doesn't mean you can't lose it at all. And if you haven't heard about this, the idea of epigenetics, basically what that means is that genetics load the gun, but our lifestyle pulls the trigger. So like you might have genetics to like be genetically predisposed to have autoimmune disease, to have obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, whatever it is. But if your lifestyle exists in a way that keeps you from expressing those genes, you're focused on whole foods, you're moving a lot, you're getting sunlight, you're grounding, you're keeping your cortisol low, you're doing meditation, you're just working on yourself and your health, and with longevity in mind, you are not going to express those genes in the same way that someone who is eating McDonald's, high stress, watching TV, not sleeping very well is going to. So you could have two people, identical twins, same DNA, but they can have totally different outcomes in their life depending on how they live. So lifting weights, proper sleep, low stress habits, they can override your genetic fat storage patterns. So not just genetic fat storage patterns, but just genetics in general. So if your family's all overweight, or they all are on blood pressure medication, or they all have high cholesterol, you can override some of that with your lifestyle choices. The last two, I don't necessarily have a good like spot for these. Maybe they can be in the same bracket. Is not enough sleep. And what that means is that you're going to have more cravings and more fat storage. If you don't sleep enough, I say this a lot, you eat 341 extra calories on average the next day. Over time, that's 36,000 calories a year. No, it's like 25,000 calories a year, which end up being somewhere around the ballpark of like 35 pounds of fat. 35 pounds of fat. What's crazy about this is that people who are losing fat and not sleeping enough, like they might want to lose, let's say 25 pounds. Over the course of the year, if they lose that 25 pounds and they're not sleeping enough, they didn't just lose 25 pounds, they lost 60 pounds because they kept trying to gain another 36 through poor eating habits, through like increased cravings, through sugar cravings, through just like having a food addiction based off of not enough sleep. Sleep is the linchpin here. And I keep talking about this. I'm harping on this all the time because what I keep seeing over and over and over and over again with my clients is that when they get their sleep in line, everything else falls in line. It's like the number one thing that if you can do this, the fat just seems to fall off. But if you're not sleeping enough or you're sleeping poorly, even if you're getting 8 hours of sleep, because that's another thing I see is I looked at 500 different sleep trackers in Aura. I got a chance to do this. And people were saying, oh, I sleep 8 hours a night. I get 8.5 hours of sleep. But we're looking at their stats and they only are getting 6.5 hours. They're waking up a lot. They're not falling asleep very fast. When they do wake up, like they're staying up 30, 60 minutes. They're not getting back to sleep. They're not getting recovery, like deep restorative sleep. So even people who are sleeping enough are not getting enough recovery. Plus, even less than 6 hours of sleep is linked to like 30 pounds more fat on average, just holding on to that. Sleep deprivation also will increase your hunger hormones, right? Makes fat loss like just a white knuckle, just a horrible process, just feels bad. So if you can prioritize 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, great. But make sure that you're doing all the right things to lead up to that. And make sure you're doing all the right things in the morning, including not overloading on caffeine, not staying up late looking at TikTok or doom scrolling or getting really mad at political events and like disrupting your sleep because of it. That's like an easy way to just get yourself a little bit more sleep. And I've got a bunch of other ways. I have a whole sleep system called the 8 hours of sleep in 6 hours. So even people who are getting 6 hours of sleep at night are still able to get 90 minutes of deep sleep and 90 minutes of REM sleep. So they're getting 3 hours of recovery sleep at night, which is setting them up for success, giving them the energy they need to crush their day. If you want that, 8in6.com to check that out. Right now, it's only $77 and you get a free bottle of Complete Restore, Sleep Aid, and Recovery Aid with that, which is a $60 bottle. So check that out. It's only $17 basically if you do girl math, boy math, my math. The last one I'm going to say is not drinking enough water. Water helps metabolize fat and flush out toxins. Dehydration lowers your energy and slows down your fat loss. Plus, a lot of people don't realize you don't lose weight on the treadmill at the gym. You lose weight, lose fat, especially at night when you're sleeping. So that's another point in the sleep more. But you need about 2 gallons of water to burn like a quarter pound of fat, just like with the chemical processes. And because the way we burn fat and get rid of it is by breathing out moist air that has broken down fat molecules inside of it. It doesn't come like magically off and turn into muscle. That's a complete myth. So you need more time asleep and you need to be hydrated when you're doing it. Now, the one thing that I see people run into a lot is they're like, I'm trying to drink a lot of water and then I have to pee all night and then I'm waking up and I can't get back to sleep. And this cycle. Here's the trick. After about 4 or 5 p.m., switch to drinking only electrolytes in your water. So put some element in your water bottle and then drink that. I don't have the proper chemical like explanation here, but it just feels like the electrolytes cause the water to stick more. Like you actually are able to absorb it into your cells. So it doesn't just run right through you and have to pee at night. So if you can pee right before you go to bed and you've been drinking electrolytes, you should not wake up in the middle of the night to pee. That's a pro tip that has helped a lot of people. So start your day off with more water. I love 24 to 32 ounces of water first thing in the morning. It's a great way to get energized before you have that first cup of coffee. And then switch to electrolytes in the PM. So if you're struggling with belly fat though, it's literally not just about doing more cardio. It's about fixing the hidden causes. It's about fixing the hormones, the stress, the sleep, the lifestyle habits. It's about optimizing. Small changes like reducing sugar, walking more, and optimizing your sleep are going to lead to those massive results over time. So try to take maybe one thing from the show today and put it into play in your life. And whatever that is, just keep working it, adding on to that. And if you want to figure out which of these factors is affecting you most, I have a free belly fat assessment that I'll put in the show notes. So you can click that, take that quiz, and it'll send you what we think your number one issue is. And we can kind of start working from there. And then make sure you're following me on Instagram for daily fitness, fat loss, sleep, and recovery tips @_million-dollar-body. And the last thing is, if you feel like sugar is a big one for you, then get the sugar detox. I'll put that in the show notes as well. It's helped. We got 181 people who have gone through it. They all lose between 3 and 7 pounds in 5 days. Resets your metabolism, resets your cravings with sugar. It's money. It's so easy to do too. So grab the sugar detox, grab the 8 and 6 sleep system, take the belly fat hormone assessment, and we can use those as jumping off points to make sure that you're absolutely killing it, reducing your belly fat. And like, it's not about like a 3-week fix here. It's about setting yourself for success in the next 12 months. Hope you had a great day today. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. Talk soon.